The snowstorm screamed across the empty land like a living thing. The wind carried sharp pieces of ice that cut through the air and bit into skin like knives. Sergeant Luke Adams walked forward, each step heavy, his boots sinking deep into the thick white snow. The sky was dark, the horizon gone, everything lost in a sea of white. His breath fogged up inside his helmet, but he didn't stop. He had one job, to find survivors. Behind him, Corporal Renee and Medic Rico followed, both wrapped in gray thermal suits. Their helmets glowed faint green under the storm light. They had been searching for hours, moving through the blizzard that had buried half of Urian 9's research colony. The distress beacon had gone silent 2 days ago. The command center had already called off the search, but Luke refused to give up. "Sir, we should go back," Renee said, her voice shaky through the comm link. "No one can survive this cold." "We've been walking for 5 hours," Luke didn't answer. He kept scanning the area with his wrist device. A small radar blinked weakly, showing no life around. He took one more slow step and then the scanner beeped once, twice, a soft pulse. Weak but real, Luke's eyes widened. "Wait. I've got something," he said quickly. Heart signal 50 meters ahead. The three of them pushed forward, the snow rising up to their knees. The wind howled louder, trying to push them back. Then Rico's foot hit something solid. He looked down and brushed away a layer of ice. For a moment, everyone froze. Beneath the frost was an arm, thin, pale blue, with strange glowing lines running under the skin. "Sir, that's not human," Rico whispered. Luke knelt beside it. His hands moved fast, brushing away the snow. Underneath, a small figure appeared. A girl, no older than 12, her body half buried in the ice. She had long silver hair frozen to her face and faint patterns glowing softly along her neck. Her chest moved slightly, very weakly. "She's alive," Luke said in disbelief. "She's still breathing." Renee's eyes went wide. "How is that possible? It's -60 out here." Luke didn't answer. He could see the girl's lips turning blue, her body trembling slightly. "We can't leave her. We need to get her warm." "But our base is 2 kilometers away," Rico said. "She won't survive the trip." Luke looked around at the endless snow. He thought for a moment, then unzipped his suit's outer layer. "Then we warm her here." "Right now," Renee hesitated. "You mean with body heat?" "Yes, thermal packs are too slow." The 3 soldiers gathered close, wrapping the alien girl in emergency blankets. Luke pulled her gently into his arms. Her skin was icy cold, so cold it almost burned to touch. He could feel no strength in her. For long minutes, the only sound was the storm outside and their heavy breathing. Slowly, he felt a change. The girl's shivering stopped. The faint light under her skin began to pulse, slow, steady, like a heartbeat. Luke adjusted the blanket tighter. Then a small sound broke the silence. A whisper. "Why, help me?" Luke's head snapped down. The girl's eyes were half open, glowing a soft blue. Her lips moved again. "Why help me?" Luke smiled behind his mask. "Because you're alive," he said quietly, "and no one deserves to die alone." The girl blinked weakly, her eyes reflecting the light of his visor. "Humans warm," she murmured. Her voice was soft and fragile, like glass about to break. Then she closed her eyes again. Renee stared at her. "She can speak our language? That's impossible." "Maybe she learned from the colony," Luke said. "Or maybe she was there when it fell." Rico checked the scanner again. The signal was stronger now, but something strange appeared on the display, a surge of unknown energy coming from her body. "Sir, look at this," he said. "It's not normal. She's absorbing heat faster than our suits can track." Luke looked down again. The snow around them was melting. Steam rose from the ground. He didn't move. "Then let her," he said softly, "if it keeps her alive." The girl's skin glowed brighter, casting light through the storm. The symbols on her neck flickered like stars. Far above them, hidden in the thick clouds, a satellite camera caught a strange flare of light across the ice plains and sent an automated message to orbit. But down on the surface, 3 humans huddled in the snow, unaware that their small act of kindness had already been noticed. Renee touched Luke's shoulder. "Sir, we need to move soon. The storm's getting worse." Luke nodded, holding the girl close. "Just 1 more minute," he said. Her pulse is coming back. The light under her skin steadied. Her tiny hand twitched and rested against Luke's arm. For the first time since landing on this frozen planet, he felt warmth, not from the heat, but from something deeper. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know what she was. but something told him that saving her was going to change everything. The storm raged louder, but around them the snow had begun to melt in a perfect circle, warm, glowing, alive. And as the team prepared to head back to base, a new signal appeared on Rico's scanner, large, fast, and moving straight toward them. Luke looked up into the storm. "We're not alone," he whispered. The wind howled again, and somewhere far away something answered. The storm had calmed by morning, leaving a haunting silence over the white plains of Urian 9. The rescue team trudged through knee-deep snow toward their outpost, their breath heavy inside their visors. Between them, wrapped in emergency blankets and covered by Luke's thermal jacket, lay the alien girl. Her faint glow was the only warmth in that frozen world. Inside the small steel-walled base, heat panels buzzed back to life as the doors sealed shut. Rico placed the girl carefully on a medbed while Renee hurried to start the scanners. Luke stood nearby, his armor half frozen, watching every movement. He didn't say a word. The moment the med scanner powered on, the room filled with soft blue light. The display blinked rapidly. Unknown species, unknown DNA structure, heart rate stable but irregular. The machine struggled to identify her biology. "Nothing matches any known record," Renee said, shaking her head. "Her blood has crystalline structures. It's like she was built to survive cold." Rico leaned closer to the monitor, but not this cold. "Her body heat was almost gone when we found her." Luke removed his helmet, steam rising from his hair. "She wouldn't have lasted another hour," he said quietly. "We got there just in time." Rico glanced at him. "Sir, I think she's more than just a survivor. Look at this, her body is generating energy now as if it's recharging itself." The girl stirred, her hand twitching slightly. The glowing veins along her arms brightened. Luke stepped closer, her eyes opened. Bright blue, calm, deep. She looked around the room like someone waking from a long nightmare. "Where am I?" she whispered, her voice soft and trembling. "You're safe," Luke said. "You were under the snow. We brought you here." She blinked slowly, trying to process his words. "You're human," Renee smiled gently. "Yes, and you are—" The girl hesitated. "I am called Elara." Her voice carried a rhythm that didn't sound entirely natural. It was melodic, almost musical. Luke crouched beside her. "Elara, what happened out there?" Elara looked down, her fingers trembling. "The sky broke," she said simply. "The ground swallowed my people. The storm took everything," Rico frowned. "An avalanche?" Elara shook her head. "No, the storm was alive." Her words made the room go quiet. Luke looked at Renee, but she had no answer. "The storm was alive?" Luke repeated slowly. "Yes," Elara said. "It came for us. It found me." She looked up suddenly, fear flashing in her glowing eyes. "It will come for you too." The lights flickered. A low hum passed through the floor. Rico checked the power console. "That's weird." The generator just dropped 10% output. Before anyone could react, the med scanner beeped again. The readings spiked. Elara's energy signature was rising fast. "Her body temperature's increasing," Renee said. "It's like she's reacting to something." Luke took a step back. "Elara, are you okay?" The girl clutched her chest, breathing hard. Light spread beneath her skin, brighter and brighter until the whole room glowed blue. "I can feel it," she gasped. "It's near." A sharp alarm echoed through the outpost. The motion sensors had detected movement, multiple heat signatures outside, large and fast. Rico's face went pale. "Something's coming." Luke ran to the window, wiping away the frost. Through the white haze, dark shapes were moving, slow, crawling, massive. At least 5 of them. "Defensive mode," Luke ordered. "Renee, seal the doors." "Rico, get the rifles." The team moved quickly. The steel shutters locked down with a heavy clang. The lights dimmed to emergency red. Outside, the snow began to swirl again, as if the wind itself was alive. Elara sat up on the bed, her glow pulsing with every heartbeat. "You must not fight them," she said softly. Luke turned to her. "What are they?" "They are the storm," she whispered. "They were made to protect this world, but now they have no master." The base shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Renee screamed as one of the external cameras went dark. "Impact on the north wall," Rico shouted. "They're trying to get in." Luke grabbed his rifle, his breath steady. "Everyone stay behind me." But Elara raised her hand. "No, let me." Before Luke could stop her, she stood up. The glow from her body spread to the floor, lines of light forming strange circular symbols. The temperature in the room dropped instantly. Frost crept across the walls and a deep humming sound filled the air. Luke stepped back, his eyes wide. "What are you doing?" Ilara didn't answer. The light from her body turned from blue to white. The sound outside changed. The wind slowed, then stopped. For a few seconds there was complete silence. Then faintly the shapes outside began to retreat. One by one they disappeared into the storm. The room fell quiet again. Ilara collapsed to her knees, breathing heavily. "They're gone," she whispered. Luke knelt beside her. "How did you do that?" She looked at him weakly. "I am connected to them. They were created by my kind long ago, but when my people died, they became lost." Renee stared in disbelief. "You mean those things were machines? Or living storms?" Ilara's eyes dimmed. "Both," she said softly. "And they will return. Unless we stop what woke them." Luke met her gaze. "Then we stop it. Together." She looked at him for a long moment, as if trying to understand him. Then slowly she smiled, small, uncertain, but real. "You humans," she whispered. "Always burning. Always warm." Luke smiled back faintly. "Guess that's what we do best." Outside, the storm began to rise again, darker and stronger than before, and deep beneath the snow, something vast started to awaken. The next morning, a ghostly light filled the sky of Urian 9. The storm clouds had thinned, but the air carried an uneasy stillness, like the planet itself was holding its breath. Inside the outpost, the heaters buzzed weakly, the smell of metal and melted ice mixing with tension. Luke hadn't slept. He sat near the medbed where Ilara rested, her body still faintly glowing under the blanket. Her breathing was slow but peaceful. The night before, she had stopped a living storm. No human tech could explain that. Rico entered the room holding a tablet. "Sir, we've got new readings from the sensors," he said quietly. "The storm? It didn't just disappear. It's circling us now, like it's waiting." Luke frowned. "Waiting for what?" Rico hesitated. "Her." He glanced toward Ilara. Before Luke could answer, Ilara stirred. Her eyes opened, bright and calm as ever. "They remember me," she said softly. "The storm knows I live." Renee, standing by the door, spoke nervously. "You mean those things, the living storms, are alive enough to remember?" Ilara nodded slowly. "They were once guardians. They protected our colonies when the sky froze. But when my people vanished, they turned into hunters. They cannot think, but they remember." Luke leaned forward. "So why are they circling us now? You saved us from them." Ilara's glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "Because I called them away. But I did not destroy them. They follow the signal of life that belongs to my kind." Rico's tablet beeped again. He looked at the screen and froze. "Sir, there's something else. A massive energy pulse, underground. Right under our base." Luke stood up. "Show me." They followed Rico to the main control room. The screen displayed the snowfield around them, silent and white. But deep below, a red circle pulsed rhythmically. It wasn't natural. Renee's eyes widened. "That's an energy core. A big one." Ilara entered the room quietly, her steps light on the metal floor. "It's my people's heart engine," she said. "It keeps this land frozen and alive. But if it wakes, the planet will change." Luke stared at her. "Change how?" She looked up at him, her voice almost a whisper. "It will bring back everything that was lost, even the storm minds that hate you." The words hung heavy in the air. "Can it be shut down?" Luke asked. Ilara shook her head. "It cannot be destroyed. Only silenced." "I will need to go down there." Renee frowned. "You can't even stand properly yet." Ilara gave a faint smile. "Your warmth saved me. Now I must return that gift." Luke crossed his arms. "You're not going alone." She turned to him, eyes glowing faintly. "If you come, they will sense you. Humans burn too bright, but I will need your help to reach the entrance." Rico hesitated. "That's suicide, sir. The readings are unstable down there. One wrong move and the ground could collapse." Luke looked at Ilara again. She looked small, fragile even, but there was something steady in her expression, like an ancient truth she carried silently. He nodded once. "We go together." Ilara blinked, surprised. "You do not fear the storm?" Luke smiled faintly. "We fear a lot of things. We just don't let them stop us." The team packed quickly. Oxygen tanks, thermal gear, power lights, and rifles. They stepped out into the silent snow once again. The air shimmered faintly, the wind whispering through broken towers of ice. Elara walked ahead, barefoot despite the cold. Wherever she stepped, the snow melted slightly, leaving faint glowing footprints behind. They reached a ridge. Beneath it, a deep crack cut through the ice like a wound. Blue light pulsed faintly from within. "That's it," she said softly. "The heart sleeps below." Luke crouched beside the edge, scanning the depth. No way down except through this. Rico tossed a light stick into the crevasse. It fell for several seconds before vanishing into darkness. "That's deep," he muttered. Elara looked down, her expression calm. "The descent will test us." Suddenly, the wind screamed again. The snow lifted into the air like a white curtain, twisting into shapes, giant forms, glowing faintly blue. "They've found us," Renee whispered. The storm creatures rose from the horizon, massive figures made of wind and frost with eyes like lightning. They surrounded the ridge, silent but watchful. Luke grabbed his weapon, but Elara held up a hand. "No," she said softly. "They will not harm us if they remember who I am." She stepped forward, raising her arms. Her glow brightened again, spreading out like ripples through the air. The storm forms paused. One of them lowered its head, a sound like thunder echoing across the plain. "They remember," she whispered, "but they do not trust." The ground shook beneath them. Cracks spread across the ridge. Rico yelled, "It's collapsing!" Luke grabbed Elara, pulling her back just as the ice broke. The team fell together into the darkness below, swallowed by a blinding blue light. The fall felt endless, weightless. Then, with a heavy thud, they landed on hard crystal ground. Renee groaned. "Everyone alive?" Luke sat up, looking around in disbelief. They were inside a massive chamber made of glowing ice and metal veins. In the center stood a giant sphere of light pulsing like a heartbeat, the heart engine. Elara stood slowly, her face filled with both awe and sorrow. "We are home," she whispered. Luke looked at her confused. "Home?" She turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "This is where my people fell asleep, and where some of them never woke up." The sphere's light grew brighter, and a deep echoing voice filled the chamber, ancient, cold, and alive. "Elara of the Frostborn. You have returned." The humans froze. Elara closed her eyes. "Yes, and I bring the warmth of humans with me." The voice rumbled again. "Then the storm will rise once more." Luke raised his rifle instinctively. What did it say? Elara turned to him, her eyes glowing white now. "It said the storm remembers me, but it also remembers what destroyed us." A distant rumble shook the chamber again. The storm was no longer waiting. It was coming. The chamber pulsed with living light, its blue glow beating like a slow heart. The walls weren't made of metal or stone. They were alive, laced with thin veins of crystal that shimmered whenever Elara moved. The air was freezing, yet thick with a strange energy that made every breath feel heavy. Luke stood motionless, staring at the giant sphere floating in the center. It wasn't touching the ground, it hovered quietly, radiating power. "So that's it," he muttered, his voice low. "The heart engine." Elara stepped forward slowly, her bare feet leaving faint trails of light on the ground. "It is more than an engine," she said softly. "It's the last heartbeat of my people." Renee swallowed hard. "You mean this thing is alive?" Elara nodded. "It remembers us. It remembers everything." Before anyone could speak again, the air trembled. A deep echoing sound filled the space like the voice of the planet itself. The glowing veins on the walls brightened, and a symbol appeared above the sphere. A circle of light with branching lines spreading outward, almost like wings. "Elara of the Frostborn," the voice boomed again. "You bring the fire-blooded ones." "Why?" Luke's instincts kicked in. He raised his weapon slightly, though he knew it would mean nothing against something this vast. "We're here to help her," he said firmly. "We found her half dead in the snow. She saved us. We're just trying to understand." There was silence for a moment. Then the voice replied, "Humans, the warm ones. You were warned never to set foot here." Elara turned her head toward Luke, her expression calm. "It speaks the truth. Long ago, when your kind first landed here, my ancestors sealed this world. They feared what warmth could bring." Luke frowned. "What does that even mean?" Elara's eyes flickered with sorrow. "Our world lived in balance. We were beings of ice shaped by silence and cold. But when the warm ones came, when they brought fire and machines, our hearts started to melt. and the storm was born to protect us. Rico stepped closer to the glowing sphere. So the storm creatures are the planet's defense system? Like soldiers? Ilara nodded. Yes, but after we were gone, they had no master. They turned into hunters lost in rage. The voice of the heart echoed again, deeper this time. The warmth will destroy us again. The fire-blooded must leave, or they will freeze. Luke clenched his fists. We didn't come here to fight. But if you attack us, we'll defend ourselves. The sphere's glow intensified, filling the chamber with blinding light. The floor vibrated. Renee stumbled backward. It's reacting, she shouted. Ilara raised her hands, her own body glowing brighter. Please, she said in her native tongue, her voice carrying power. They saved me. They are not enemies. The heartbeat of the chamber slowed. The light softened. For a long moment there was only silence. Then the voice spoke again, quieter now. If they are not enemies, they must prove it. The storm will test their hearts. Ilara's eyes widened. No, wait! But before she could finish, the ground beneath them cracked open. A blinding light engulfed the team and everything went white. When Luke opened his eyes, he was lying on ice. Not inside the chamber anymore. The world around him was different. Gray skies, endless frozen plains, and towering shards of crystal rising like teeth from the earth. His breath fogged instantly. Renee! Rico! He shouted. His voice echoed but came back empty. He looked around desperately until he saw movement in the distance. A small, glowing figure. Ilara. She stood alone, facing something that wasn't there yet. Luke ran toward her, his boots crunching in the snow. Where are we? She didn't turn around. Inside the trial, she said softly. The heart wants to see who you truly are. Before Luke could ask what she meant, a roar broke the silence. The wind twisted violently, forming a massive shape. A storm creature, but larger than any they'd seen before. Its body was made of spinning ice and blue lightning, its face a hollow mask. Luke aimed his rifle. You've got to be kidding me. Ilara stepped forward, her voice steady. You cannot kill it with bullets. It is memory. It tests your heart, not your weapon. The creature roared again, charging toward them. Luke didn't hesitate. He ran straight at it. The wind knocked him back, but he kept going, firing bursts of plasma that vanished into mist. He shouted through the storm, If this is a test, then listen, I'm not leaving her to die again. The creature paused mid-strike. The storm around it flickered, uncertain. Ilara raised her hand, her glow spreading outward. He speaks truth, she said. His warmth is not to destroy, but to protect. The creature's chest cracked open, revealing a swirling core of light. It hesitated, then lowered itself slowly, bowing before them. Luke stared in shock. Did it just bow? Ilara smiled faintly. Yes, you passed. The heart sees your fire as pure. The landscape began to dissolve around them, breaking into shards of light. They were back in the chamber. Renee and Rico stood nearby, confused but unharmed. The heart engine pulsed calmly again. The voice returned, softer now. The test is complete. The storm remembers your warmth. The worlds may yet live together. Luke lowered his weapon slowly, breathing hard. So, that's it? We're forgiven? Forgiveness is not ours to give, the voice said. But balance begins with mercy. Ilara stepped forward, her eyes shimmering. Then I will stay, she said. To guide the storms, to teach them peace. Luke's chest tightened. Stay? You'll die here. She smiled gently. Not die, return. This is my home, and now it has hope again. Rico swallowed hard. And us? The heart's light dimmed, then glowed once more. You will carry her warmth back to the stars. A beam of light surrounded them. The last thing Luke saw was Ilara's soft smile, sad but peaceful, as the world faded away. When Luke opened his eyes again, he was back at the human base. The storm outside had ended. The scanners showed clear skies for the first time in months, but where Ilara had stood, only a faint blue crystal remained, still warm to the touch. Luke held it close. Goodbye, Ilara, he whispered. Outside, the frozen horizon glowed faintly blue, as if the planet itself was smiling. Days passed since the storm ended, but the silence that followed was almost worse. The colony outpost stood still beneath a pale sun, its metal walls groaning softly under the cold. Inside, the humans tried to move on, yet every room felt emptier without Ilara's faint blue glow. Luke sat in the control room, staring at the strange crystal she had left behind. It rested on the table, glowing faintly in rhythm with his heartbeat, as if alive. He turned it over in his hand again and again, remembering her last words. Carry my warmth back to the stars. Rico entered quietly, holding a report pad. Sir, the scans came in. That crystal, it's not any known mineral. It's giving off a soft energy field, similar to a neural pattern. Luke looked up. Neural, you mean like a brain signal? Rico nodded slowly. Almost like... She's still talking, just not in words. Renee joined them, her face pale. Maybe it's a recording, or maybe she left part of herself behind. Luke didn't answer. He just stared at the crystal, its glow pulsing gently like it was breathing. Suddenly the power lights flickered. The console beeped. A signal, faint rhythmic, appeared on the radar. Not from space. From underground, Rico frowned. That's impossible. The heart engine shut down when she... It's not the heart? Luke interrupted softly. It's her. Without waiting for permission, he grabbed his gear. We're going down. Sir, we can't. Renee said quickly. The storm tunnels collapsed. It's too unstable. Luke looked at the crystal again. The light pulsed faster now, like it was answering him. She saved us. I'm not leaving her alone. Rico sighed, shaking his head. Then I'm coming too. The three of them packed their suits, oxygen tanks, and scanners, then stepped back into the cold. The snow had stopped falling, but the silence felt alive, listening. They moved toward the ridge where the ground had cracked during the last storm. The wind was light, carrying whispers that almost sounded like a voice. Renee stopped suddenly. Did you hear that? Luke nodded. The sound came again, soft, melodic, like Elara's voice singing through the air. She's guiding us, he said quietly. They followed the faint hum until they reached the edge of a frozen canyon. At its center, half buried in the ice, was a massive crystalline arch glowing faint blue. Rico scanned it. Energy reading matches the crystal exactly. Luke stepped closer, holding the small crystal out. The glow from the arch brightened, reacting instantly. And then, it opened. A circular passage formed in the ice, lined with blue light. Warm air flowed out, rich with the faint scent of ozone and frost flowers. Renee's eyes widened. That's impossible. Luke didn't hesitate. Move. They entered the tunnel, their lights bouncing off the smooth, icy walls. The passage led downward, spiraling deep beneath the surface. The deeper they went, the warmer it became. Finally, they reached a vast cavern, one even larger than the heart chamber. The walls shimmered like frozen glass, and at the center stood a tall crystal pillar. Suspended inside it was a faint silhouette, slim, motionless, familiar. It was Elara. Renee gasped. She's here? Her body was encased in crystal, her eyes closed, her expression calm, almost peaceful. The glow from the walls seemed to pulse in harmony with her heart. Luke stepped forward slowly. She didn't die, he whispered. She became part of the planet. As he placed the smaller crystal against the pillar, a low hum filled the air. The light grew brighter and a voice, soft and clear, spoke around them. Luke. You came back? Renee's hand flew to her mouth. It's her voice. Luke looked up, scanning the chamber. Elara, are you alive? Her voice echoed again, calm and warm. Alive in another way. I am part of the heart now. The storm obeys me again. The world sleeps in peace, Rico frowned. Then why call us back? There was a long pause. Then Elara's tone changed, gentle but urgent. Because peace here is fragile. Something has changed above the stars. You must tell them. The storm is spreading, Luke stiffened. Spreading? To where? To other worlds, she replied softly. The balance is breaking. The same energy that woke me is waking others, on other frozen planets. The silence is ending, Renee whispered. You mean... There are more like you? Many, Elara said. My kind were not alone. The frost worlds are waking and they remember the warmth that once burned them. The chamber trembled faintly, as if the planet itself sighed. Luke clenched his jaw. Then we'll warn command. We'll tell them what's coming. No, Elara said, her voice tender. You must show them. Take the crystal with you. It holds my memory and my truth. Only when they feel my warmth will they understand. The smaller crystal in Luke's hand glowed brighter, almost hot now. Rico's scanner beeped rapidly. Sir, the tunnel's destabilizing. We need to move. Luke looked at Alara's encased figure one last time. Will I ever see you again? Her voice was soft like snow falling. You already do. Every time the wind touches your skin, every time warmth fights the cold, you'll find me there. The chamber walls began to crack, sending shards of glowing ice into the air. Renee grabbed Luke's arm. Sir, we've got to go now. Luke nodded, stepping back slowly. Thank you, Alara. As they fled through the collapsing tunnel, the blue light chased them upward, brighter and faster. When they burst out into the open air, the ground behind them sealed itself again, silent and calm as if nothing had ever been there. They stood under the pale sun, breathless. The sky above shimmered faintly with blue streaks like veins of light spreading through the clouds. Renee whispered. She wasn't lying. The storm's spreading. Luke looked at the glowing crystal in his hand. Its light was steady now, pulsing like a heartbeat. He turned toward the horizon. Then we don't have much time. The snow began to fall again, soft, quiet, and faintly blue. Far above the clouds, in the orbit of Urian 9, a satellite blinked awake, sending a signal back to the human colonies. It carried one message. The frost worlds are awakening. The transmission reached command 7 days later. By then, the first ice storms had already begun across 3 neighboring colonies. Entire mining sites on the moons of Nivra and Valtis reported sudden temperature drops, freezing machinery, shattering domes, and cutting off communication in minutes. It was happening exactly as Alara had warned. Inside the command center of the USS Horizon, Captain Marin stood before the holographic map. The frozen planets flickered one by one, glowing faint blue. This pattern is spreading, she said grimly. Almost like they're waking up in sequence. Luke stood beside her, arms crossed, face hard. He hadn't shaved in days, and his eyes carried the same exhausted fire since returning from Urian 9. He placed Alara's crystal on the console, its faint light pulsed softly, matching the rhythm of the flickering planets on the map. It's her, he said quietly, or others like her. The frost worlds are alive, and they're calling to each other. Commander Rico leaned closer to the map. But why now? They've been silent for centuries. What changed? Luke's voice was low but certain. Us humans, we dug too deep, mined too far. We woke what was never meant to wake. The captain turned toward him. You're saying these storms are intelligent? He nodded, and more than that. They remember. Alara said they were guardians once, protectors of balance. But now they think we're the threat. The captain exhaled sharply. Then we need a plan before these things reach populated systems. Luke looked at the glowing crystal again. We already have one. We talked to them. The room fell silent. Rico blinked. Talk to them? Sir, they're not diplomats. They're weather gods. Luke smiled faintly. Maybe. But one of them listened before. He tapped the crystal. Alara did. Maybe she still can. That night, in the quiet lab of the Horizon, Luke sat alone with the crystal. The hum of the engines filled the silence. Outside the viewport, Urian 9 glimmered below, peaceful but pale. He touched the crystal gently. Alara, if you can hear me, we need you again. For a long moment there was nothing. Then light, soft, trembling. The crystal began to glow, spreading warmth through his gloves. Her voice echoed faintly in his mind. Luke, he froze. You're still here. Part of me, she replied softly. The frost remembers you, he exhaled shakily. The storms are spreading to other worlds. We need to stop it. A pause. Then you cannot stop the awakening. It has already begun, but you can guide it. Guide it how? By warmth, she said. Each frost world has its heart, its sleeping mind. You must reach them before they rise in anger. If they see humans as destroyers, they will turn their storms upon you all. Luke frowned. You mean there are more like your heart engine? Yes, 13 of them, each bound to a world, each afraid of the same fire. Luke leaned back, his heart pounding. Then I'll go. I'll reach them, but I can't do it alone. You won't, she said. I will guide you through the crystal. But remember, Luke, every world remembers differently. Some will see your warmth as hope. Others will see it as war. Before he could reply, the door opened. Rico stepped in, half smiling. Sir, are you talking to your rock again? Luke grinned faintly. Yeah, she's smarter than you think. Rico rolled his eyes but stepped closer. Command approved our mission. We're going to Valtis first. That's where the largest frost storm is forming. Luke looked down at the crystal. Its glow was stronger now, almost eager. Then that's where we'll start. The journey to Valtis took 48 hours. The planet was breathtaking, a silver-blue orb wrapped in glowing auroras. But beneath the beauty lay destruction. Entire mining stations were buried under layers of living ice, moving like waves. The horizon descended into orbit, scanners lighting up with static. Atmospheric interference is too strong, Renee said from the pilot seat. We'll have to go in manually, Luke nodded. Prep the shuttle. We're landing near the old refinery outpost. As they entered the atmosphere, lightning danced across the clouds, but not natural lightning. It moved in patterns, forming circles and symbols that glowed like runes. Rico pointed at the screen. That's language. Luke's voice was steady. Then someone down there is trying to speak. The shuttle broke through the cloud cover, landing on a frozen plateau. The moment the hatch opened, a rush of freezing air hit them, followed by faint whispers in the wind. Renee shivered. It sounds like voices. Luke stepped forward, the crystal in his hand glowing brighter. They're not speaking to you. They're speaking to me. The ice beneath their boots cracked faintly, releasing thin streams of light that connected into a glowing path ahead. Rico swallowed. You sure this isn't a trap? Luke smiled faintly. If it is, it's a beautiful one. They followed the path until it opened into a vast frozen valley. At its center stood another crystal structure, massive like a cathedral of ice. The moment Luke stepped inside, the temperature shifted. The cold vanished. Warmth spread through the chamber, and a voice deep and ancient filled the air. Warm-blooded one, you carry her memory. Luke froze. You know Elara? She was the first to wake. Her warmth touched us all. The light from the wall shifted into patterns, images of Elara's world, her people, and the storms. She learned to trust you, the voice continued. Now you must teach the others to do the same. But beware, some hearts are colder than ice. The chamber trembled. Blue light poured upward, shooting into the sky. The storm clouds above began to thin, their spiral slowing. Renee gasped. It's working. Luke held the crystal tightly. Then we moved to the next world. Rico turned to him. And after that? Luke looked at the fading storm and smiled faintly. Then we keep going until the last frost learns the meaning of warmth. Outside, the planet's surface shimmered. The storm winds fell quiet. The first dawn in centuries rose over Valtis, painting the ice gold. And far across the galaxy on another sleeping frost world, a faint blue glow began to stir, its heart sensing the return of warmth. The months that followed turned into a journey across the stars. Luke and his small crew became legends whispered through comm channels, the warm ones, the only humans who could walk into a storm and return alive. With Elara's crystal as their guide, they traveled from one frozen planet to another, awakening the ancient hearts that slept beneath each world's crust. Some worlds welcomed them, their storms bending into calm when touched by human hands. Others fought back, seeing warmth as the same fire that had destroyed their creators long ago. But wherever they went, Luke never wavered. Now, there was only one left, the final frost world. The ship Horizon drifted above a silent planet known in old charts as Cryon 13. It was larger than Earth, covered entirely in glacial oceans and mountain-sized shards of ice. But at its core, scanners detected something far greater than any heart engine they had seen before. Rico leaned over the console, his voice hushed. Energy levels off the charts, sir. This one's different, it's awake already. Luke stared at the planet's swirling white surface. Then we're not waking it, he said quietly. We're facing it, the captain nodded grimly. Ready the landing shuttle? They descended through a storm that made the others look like gentle snow. Lightning forked across the clouds, not white but deep blue, each flash forming glowing symbols that rippled like ancient words. Elara's voice echoed faintly through the crystal in Luke's suit. Be careful, Luke, this one is the eldest. It remembers everything, he whispered back. Then maybe it remembers what mercy is. The shuttle touched down on an endless frozen plain. The horizon shimmered faintly with auroras that bent downward as if bowing to the surface. The moment Luke stepped outside, the ground pulsed beneath his boots. Frost crystals rose like growing vines, curling toward him, sensing his warmth. Renee looked around nervously. It's reacting to us again. Rico held up his scanner. No, not us. It's reacting to him. Luke held up Alara's crystal. The pulse quickened and the ice ahead split open. A path formed, leading toward a distant mountain made of glowing blue stone. That's it, Luke said softly. The final heart. The climb was brutal. The wind screamed like 1,000 voices and flashes of ghostly figures appeared in the snow, shadows of a long-lost civilization frozen in memory. But Luke pressed on, each step guided by the warmth of Alara's crystal glowing against his chest. At the summit they found a vast frozen temple, half buried in the ice. Its doors were taller than the horizon itself, covered in runes that shimmered faintly like stars. Luke stepped closer and placed the crystal in the center of the door. It melted instantly, fusing into the pattern. The doors opened. Inside was a chamber larger than any before, its walls curved upward like the inside of a massive dome. At its center was not one heart engine, but 3, rotating around a single pillar of white light. A deep, resonant voice filled the chamber, echoing in their bones. The fire returns to the cold again. Luke stood firm. We didn't come to destroy. We came to make peace. The light pulsed sharply. Peace was offered once before. It brought only death. Images filled the air. Holographic visions of ancient humans landing on a frost world long ago, melting its ice, draining its resources, and leaving it barren. Renee whispered, "It's showing us what we did." Luke clenched his fists. That wasn't us. That was centuries ago. We've learned. We can coexist, the voice rumbled again. Words melt easily. Warmth burns too bright. We are the last frost. We do not trust fire. The ground split and the storm outside rushed into the chamber. Shards of ice rose from the floor, forming towering shapes, guardians of the heart. Rico shouted, "It's attacking." Luke raised his arm, shielding his face from the icy wind. "No, it's testing us again." He dropped his weapon and stepped forward unarmed, holding only the faintly glowing crystal. "If you want to know warmth," he said, "then feel this. It's not fire, it's life." The storm paused. The ice giants froze mid-step. The crystal in his hand pulsed brighter and brighter until it burst into blinding white light. When the glow faded, the voice spoke again. Quieter now, uncertain. "That warmth. It carries her." Luke smiled faintly. "Alara, the one who chose to trust." The chamber softened, the swirling storm slowing until it became gentle snow. The ice giants lowered their heads. Luke stepped closer to the pillar of light. She believed warmth and cold weren't enemies, they were balance. "You can be that again." The light flickered weakly as if considering his words. Then slowly, the 3 hearts aligned, merging into one. The chamber filled with a deep resonant hum, ancient and alive. Then let balance return. The floor began to glow with thousands of blue lines, spreading outward like veins of light across the planet. Outside, the storm clouds broke open, revealing a sky filled with sunlight for the first time in millennia. Renee gasped. "It's clearing." "The whole planet's," Luke smiled. "Healing," the voice spoke one last time. "Go, warm one. Tell your kind that the frost no longer fears them. But remind them. Warmth can heal or destroy," Luke nodded. "We'll remember." Hours later, as the horizon rose back into orbit, they looked down at Cryon 13. The entire planet shimmered under the light of its first dawn. Rivers of blue ice reflected golden sunlight, and the storms that had haunted the world for ages had vanished into calm silence. Rico leaned back in his seat. "So, that's it? The last frost world is free?" Luke looked out the viewport. "Free but not forgotten. They've seen what we can be. Now we just have to prove it." He opened his hand, revealing the crystal. It no longer glowed blue, but soft white like morning snow under sunlight. Renee smiled softly. "Think she's watching?" Luke nodded. "Always." The ship turned toward the stars, leaving behind a trail of light that faded into the quiet of space. And far below, deep within the mountain, the merged hearts pulsed one last time, sending a single beam of light across the galaxy. It carried no words, only a feeling, trust fragile but real.